Hi, and welcome to another video by Desktop Tech. Today I'm going to be showing you how to set up a secure environment, both on the host computer and inside of the virtual machine, for investigating malware and scam baiting tech support scammers. It's important to set up a secure environment so that if you're investigating malware or you have someone that you don't trust connecting to a virtual machine, your host network and other computers on the network can't be compromised as a result. Usually using a virtual machine, you're pretty safe, but there's a couple steps you can take to make absolutely sure that your local network is not going to be compromised by either a malware sample that might spread to the network or a tech support scammer who might try and lock you out of your virtual machine and use a tool such as TeamViewer to get into your network file settings and your network shares. Because a lot of people these days have computers that have multiple files shared, or they have a router with a USB stick installed, and it is potentially possible for either a malicious program you're running inside of your VM or even a tech support scammer to go in and start browsing your network shares. And in that case, a virtual machine won't save you. So the first thing I'm going to show you is how to set up your host computer to limit what the virtual machine can connect to. In this case, I'm using Linux Mint, and I'm going to show you in the firewall configuration how to greatly limit what the host computer has access to. Now, if you go into the menu here and search for firewall, we will get the firewall configuration. And of course, it's going to ask for your password. And once it loads up, you'll see that the firewall screen is here. I've created a new profile for the firewall, and I've just called it Lockdown. And if we look at the rules for this firewall, you'll see that I have port 80 allowed, port 443 allowed, which is, of course, your HTTPS. I've allowed 8080 because there are certain web applications that use 8080 in some browsers. I've allowed port 53 so we can get our DNS. And then port 5938 is for TeamViewer. I want to be able to use that if I'm scam baiting. A lot of the tools such as TeamViewer and LogMeIn will also work without any additional ports open other than 80 and 443 as well. And then you'll see that I just basically have the same ports again, just for IPv6, which in your case may or may not be necessary. I'm not using IPv6, but that's something that just the firewall configuration configured for me automatically, so that's nice. So when you first load your firewall configuration, you're not going to have any rules. I believe the initial firewall configuration is going to just allow everything. And I think in Linux Mint, the firewall is off by default. So you're going to want to create a new profile that has these rules in it. Okay, so in order to create your firewall rules, what you're going to want to do is create a new profile. And where you do that is under File, or actually Edit, and then Preferences. And you'll see that I have two profiles here. If you want to create a new one, just go ahead and hit that. And in this case, I'm going to just go ahead and delete that. And then you want to go ahead and create some new rules. So if you hit the plus down there, you're going to get this new window, and you can just make a simple rule. Just give it a name, and then you're going to want to allow. And then you're going to want to allow both directions, and then you can choose a protocol if you want. For most of these, I believe it's going to be TCP. And then you're going to want to put your ports. And like I mentioned, I'm allowing ports 80, 443, 8080, 53, and 5938, which allows your web browsing, your DNS, and your TeamViewer. And that's pretty much all there is to creating the firewall rules. Up here you can turn the firewall off if you're doing other things and you need more internet access, or if you want to torrent or anything like that. On Windows, the setup's going to be a little bit different. you're going to have to use the Windows built-in firewall. But I would recommend, if you're doing malware research or scam baiting or anything like that, using a Linux-based system, that is going to make things a little more secure. Just if there is ever a case where anything jumps off of the virtual machine onto your network. And with scam baiters, that's not really that big a deal, but with malware analysis, you might have something that tries to attack network shares or other Windows computers, and it's better to be cautious. But we're now going to move on to the second part of the video, where I'm going to show you inside of the virtual machine some more steps that you can take to protect yourself, where you are basically going to go in and disable all of the Windows file sharing functionality of the operating system, so that Windows is only going to be used for web browsing, and you're basically neutering the ability for Windows to connect to any local file shares. So that's coming up next. Okay, so now we're in our virtual machine, and we're going to disable network file sharing for Windows. In this case, I'm using Windows XP. So we're going to go into Control Panel, and then we're going to go ahead and go into Network Connections, and we're going to find our Ethernet adapter, and we're going to want to go ahead and disable, or actually uninstall, the client for Microsoft Networks. And this is going to prevent Windows from reaching out to network file shares. And we're going to want to do the same thing for file and printer sharing. And then we're going to want to go ahead and let Windows reboot.